Wayfeather Media presents Clairvoyaging.
Friends.
Hello.
How's it going, guys?
Hey, guess what?
What?
This is 1 year.
We've been doing this for a year.
This is our 1 year check-in.
Yeah. And you know what? I was like, why don't we wait until episode 50 to do that? Because that's a nice round number.
Yeah.
And well,
And I said no.
next year, next week is Halloween. So
Yeah.
that's
spooky episode.
going to be our spooky episode. So it just happened to be that way.
It's not like crazy spooky. It's just like a little on the spookier side.
We're not a spooky show, but it's going to be a fun episode.
Yeah.
So what are we talking about today?
So this is a milestone episode. It's one where we check in on our progress. How's our intuition? How are things coming along?
Yeah, we're just doing, yeah. So listen, team, Voyagers.
Yeah.
We are aware that this podcast was started as an attempt for us to learn more in general.
Yeah.
And to help our niece Gwen. And it has very clearly turned into how to help ourselves. Because Gwen's fine.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, let's give a couple updates because that's what this is for.
Yeah.
Gwen is doing great.
She's great.
If you're new to this podcast, go back, start at episode 1, jump around. But there are some things you'll hear us reference because it's been a journey. Our niece Gwen is doing great. She has basically, for now, turned off her sensitivity because it was like freaking her out a little bit too much.
Kind of. But also we've noticed that she has started to more openly talk about the things that she experienced.
Yeah.
And that at certain times she knows how to like tap into her abilities a little bit when the time is right.
Yeah. Yeah.
She also, we've been told, has told some of her friends at school here and there that she can, and her teachers, that she can see spirits and talk to spirits sometimes, which is, hey, that's why we're here. We're trying to normalize this. We didn't want her to like put herself in a situation where she was going to out herself in any kind of way, but she's finally comfortable with it. And that's, I guess, mission accomplished 1 year in.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And
Now,
her parents are like, a lot of the adults know who she is at school because of her event.
I think that's part of it is because when she had that event at school, like, you don't, that kind of thing doesn't just happen and no one like spreads the word. So she's telling people who already know about it and they're like, we know, sweetie, like it's fine. She's comfortable with it and she gets to tell people when she's ready.
Yeah.
So
she is in control of it instead of it controlling her and her being scared.
Yeah.
And just trying to like avoid it.
So Gwen's great. As for Lauren and me,
well, we are not well. What a ride. One, I just want to say thank you for everyone who has reached out, sent emails, sent messages, commented, and just said how helpful the podcast has been or that some of our stories are cool. Any positive feedback has just like given us life. And, sometimes it can be hard to be so vulnerable and know that people are like listening to you cry or have a secret moment of sadness.
I wish I knew who you're talking about.
I don't know. But it that is part of helping to normalize all of this and remove the stigma. So thank you for letting us be vulnerable and letting us take you on this journey with us because it's been super fun and also exhausting because of all the trauma healing.
That's a labor of love.
Yeah. The podcast hasn't been exhausting. The unexpected like trauma healing has been exhausting.
Yeah. Well, any kind of unexpected self-work is always going to be exhausting.
Yeah. Like I just didn't know that we were going to do this.
No.
Like we're like, let's start a podcast. I'm like, oh, let me learn Reiki and like, it won't be a big deal. And like, you can't learn Reiki without just like unearthing all these things in your
You didn't know
body.
that.
I didn't know.
I mean, okay, everyone who's been here from the start, episode 1 is, what is ghost? And, and now it's like...
And now we're like, so past lives
yeah.
and soul contracts, like, let's talk about that.
Yeah. Yeah. Now it's
We've become those people.
I've been fucking up for multiple lifetimes, I see. Okay. Let's try and fix this. So.
It's really interesting how like my knowledge has expanded so much from all the amazing guests we've had. Like every single guest we've had has given some, if not just like one incredible piece of advice or information, if not just that, like multiple. Like every guest is just like, we can't even keep up because it's so much information. It's so much healing. It's so helpful. So that's a big thing.
Where are you right now in your journey? Where has this whole thing taken you? And
how much time do you have?
And listeners, keep in mind that Lauren was crying 30 minutes before we hit record today. So actively healing.
Oh my God. It's such active healing.
I'm going to put myself on mute. You talk.
Okay. I had like a little moment of realization with just like keeping my ego in check when it comes to like friends or family that like we're in different places and you don't hear from people or whatever. Like I realize like I make that a personal narrative, like that's about me, and like it's just not. And I was realizing that is part of my abandonment wound, so I was working on not crying.
Even with all the healing, all the Reiki, all the healing you do for other people, you are still working on your trauma.
Yeah.
In particular,
I feel like it's a lifelong progress. It's a lifelong journey.
It is a lifelong journey.
Yeah.
It doesn't stop. The thing that you are working on in particular is navigating what other people might be thinking about you.
No one's ever thinking about you as much as you're thinking about you. Like when you have trauma, it's so easy to create a story around what other people are doing, what other people are thinking, what they're thinking about you, what their lack of calling or reaching out means about you. And that's just really something that like I have had to keep in check because that's my like wounded ego. I had pulled a card and I was like, what do I need to know? And it was like, are you like, you're feeling self-conscious, you're feeling insecure. And I was like, no, I'm not. And then the more I thought about it, I was like, oh yeah, I do stop myself sometimes from doing the things that I love or I want to do because I'm so afraid still of what are other people going to think about it. What kind of judgment am I going to face? Like, who cares? Who cares?
Saying who cares is much easier than actually not caring. So, and also like not caring isn't always great. The thing is that we've discovered for you, when you talk about your ego, you're talking about how your well-being is often tied to someone else's affirmation of your activities or what you're doing. So,
yeah.
Right? So it's not ego in like a egotistical way where like you make everything about you. It's that you've made everything about everyone else and you need someone to tell you that you're doing a good job.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
So we pull a card and you look at it and you're like, when we pull tarot cards, we are asking our spirit guides specifically for assistance. So we address them specifically, not by name, because we don't know who they are. We're not there yet. We'd love to be. But
I did hear a name one time, though.
That was a long
time.
Did
I tell you that?
Lauren got a name.
Yeah. It was the night before. Okay, I've never said this, I don't think. The night before I started my Reiki class, I went into like a deep meditative state right before I fell asleep. And I said, are any of my spirit guides here? And I heard a male voice say, I was like, who are you? And he said, Stefan. And I was like, well, I wouldn't have made that up. And then
Stefan.
And then all he said was, keep going. And I was like, okay.
That's nice.
So that was kind of cool. But I don't remember what we were talking about.
So I was saying when we pull tarot cards, we address our spirit guide specifically. Lauren pulled one before the episode and she said, hey, what do I need to know today? And it brought up like this whole, it was the 4 of Wands reversed.
Yeah.
And, you know, as usual, we referenced Dr. Elliot Adam. And he was talking about
episode number 7.
Episode number 7.
Understanding Tarot with Dr. Elliot Adam.
And the card is a lot about like ego and sense of self and stuff. Here's the wisdom of spirit. Lauren was like, this deck is busted. This card's not what I need right now, but we talked about it for 2 seconds. And then the tears started.
Yeah.
So anyway.
I went from like, I'm totally fine to, oh no, I'm going to start crying because of my abandonment wound.
I think the point in all of this is that yes, you always have to like, you can't just ignore your trauma. You ignore it, and then it's like your life becomes a house of cards. You build on that busted ass foundation, and it's going to topple at some point, or you just can't even address the thing that makes that the thing that you're uncomfortable talking about, right?
Yeah.
Because your whole life is a facade at that point. It falls apart. And to even get to that foundation, if you want to do that work, you have to let some things fall. You have to let some things fall apart to get to that busted foundation that you built your life upon. You got to reverse and do the trauma. Let's talk about me for a second.
Go ahead.
So like this, as you all know ad nauseum, I'm so tired of talking about it. I've got, and you know what? I'll tell you right now, my spirit guides are laughing their asses off at me. I guarantee you. I started, had I lost my job yet when we started this podcast?
No.
Okay, you've been here for the whole thing. The whole thing. And
yeah, we started the podcast in October. You lost your job in November.
Okay, what a joke. Is that not like some kind of coincidence? There's no such thing.
No. It was always going to be this way.
It was always going to be this way.
Yeah. But like, you've learned so much.
I know.
And like, you've done so much since then.
Yeah.
It's pretty wild.
So here's what, and I'm always, you've heard me talk to multiple guests. I'm like, oh, what should I do? Should I do that? And then Lucy Jane in episode 32 in particular was like, you're not allowed to know yet because you're not there yet. So this entire time, and periodically, dudes, and by periodically, I mean like maybe like multiple times a month, I'm like, okay, it's probably time to like, get a job and like do the thing. And I've made the decision to like live more authentically, but I keep letting my fear of what I consider like, realistic living to get in the way of what I want to actually do and be. So I'm like, all right, I keep checking in with our tarot decks of like, saying, okay, I've got this settled. I've addressed this trauma. Now I can get a job, right? Like I'm dragging my family through this weird not having enough money situation, and it's making me feel uncomfortable. And I want to be past that. And no joke, Lauren's been there. No joke. Every single card we pull has been like, wait a second. You're not there yet. You'll get there.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, okay, but what about just like, I don't know, maybe getting like a crappy job just for now, just to make ends meet, like a part-time something, whatever. I don't care if I'm bagging groceries. Not that everyone who bags groceries has a crappy job, but you know what I mean? And it's always been like, oh, well, I think what you need to do is work on your inner self. And and it's been so, I literally I don't cry that often. At one time I got so frustrated by that.
I think it was like 2 nights ago.
No. That was a different time. No.
There was, yeah. You were very upset.
I got so frustrated. And like, I've never cried out of frustration in my life. And it was like, you got to be kidding me. I'm going to be candid, dudes. Last night, Last night, Lauren took 2.5 milligrams of THC and a glass of wine. And then she said, I am in lockstep with your spirit guides right now. And she started dumping some truth on me.
It's so true. I am an easy,
we're tame. We're tame.
We're very tame.
and usually it's very common for us to like talk about this stuff, but and usually in our conversations about like our own well-being and our trauma, and you know, like we try to be really good support for each other. I'm usually doing a lot of the talking.
Oh, he was silent last night.
Oh, I was just a little puppy, my tail between my legs.
I was like, boom, 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 boom. Like, I mean, not to make it about me, but it really felt like this isn't necessarily coming just from me. This is a realization. Like this is shit that you need to know.
Yeah. And Lauren was like a mouthpiece for what my spirit guides have been telling me through tarot and all that. And that is, it's never been the ability to do stuff. I could do a ton of shit. It's my sense of deserving and what that comes down to. And I had to do and Lauren got me to do another deep dive last night into like, where did these self-limiting beliefs come from? And I've had other people guess. I've had guests like the good Reverend William Meyer, whom we love, friend of the show. I remember even him in particular, he was like, you take it easy with the self-deprecating humor, man. And I'm like, no, it's a joke. It's a joke. And I'm realizing now what
episode 8 and 9 was right. William Meyer.
So I'm recognizing now 40 episodes later, oh shit, I used self-deprecating humor a lot as a way to, yes, it's funny. And the way I was presenting it was funny or can be funny. But also it masks this like actual sense of that I feel about myself. I don't like to use the word deserving. I think deserving is a loaded word, but I sometimes feel like I haven't earned my keep. So doing something like this, even where it's like, hey, a bunch of people have podcasts that are like pretty popular and it's their living. I'm like, yeah, but I haven't like worked hard enough for it. My sense of earning is keeping me from really vibrating at a level that allows me to have what I want. So because this is a great time and I'm having fun doing it and I'm meeting a ton of people and I love everybody, it doesn't feel like work. And that's not work. I have to struggle to earn a living, right?
And what's so interesting is that it is so much work. Like Frank is our editor. Frank is the video guy. Frank's the technical person. This set is because of Frank. And yet the belief is so real that it's not enough. Like it's not because it's not like some real like 9-to-5 job. Like it's not earned or something.
It's literally because this has all been a pleasure.
Right.
It's a literal labor of love, and it doesn't feel like work because I associate work with struggle and having to do shit I don't want to do.
And I had to say, people have jobs that they love. People have careers that they love. There are people all the time that say, I can't believe this is how I get paid. And like, this can be that reality, but Frank has told himself that it can't because it's not good enough, or it's not enough. I didn't work hard enough for it. Yeah. But I truly think that is like super relatable too.
I probably.
Yeah.
I'm certain I'm not the only one. That's like a societal thing.
Yeah.
I think so.
Me and his spirit guides really did some talking. I said, you got to heal that, or this podcast isn't going anywhere because you aren't ready for a bigger thing.
And that's the thing that I realized last night, is that if I don't get myself in check and able to acknowledge the fact that like, yes, this is indeed work. Like I've put in my 10,000 hours into everything that this requires.
Yes.
It's okay.
It's okay.
It's okay. My point is that like, I've forgotten how to dream. That's all. How can you achieve something you want without acknowledging that you can get it. Like
Right.
it's always in my mind, it's always been like, oh, if this works out, that it could. It was like, if I believe that we achieved any kind of success as an accident, then like, why am I'm making the universe like work against me and what I believe. That's not fair to me, and that's not fair to universe, you know?
And
anyway,
to me, your partner.
and to Lauren. So Lauren and my spirit guides, they sat down in a circle. They passed the Ducci on the left-hand side.
Pass the gummy on the left-hand side. 2.5 and a glass of wine.
And
Lauren's going to tell it like it is.
Told me how it was.
Oh, yeah.
And to be clear, I haven't fully processed that information. Sorry, guys, I'm using this platform as a way to kind of digest that information a little bit. But
which again, we're taking you on this journey. So this literally happened last night. So, that's part of it is just ongoing.
Yeah.
We're undoing so many beliefs all the time, which is also, it's just, it's great, but it's so exhausting.
So, and for me, it's only been a year. We are not even a year. So I lost my job in November last year. This has been the longest year of my life because it's uncomfortably sitting through not earning an income. Mm-hmm. Instead of earning an income, working on myself in ways that aren't exactly tangible to people around me, which that alone is another point. Like, what do other people think of me while I'm sitting here talking about ghosts and talking to psychics and stuff that people don't even address as real, a lot of people.
But again, that's keeping your wounded ego in check.
Fully.
Yeah.
Fully.
Mm-hmm.
So it's all this shit working against me mentally. And I'm kind of ADD, like distracted at all these negative points. And when you're distracted by all of this stuff, by all of these things that feels like it's coming from the outside world you don't have time to focus on that big dream, that thing that, like, when I was a teenager, I wanted to be in a band, and I let myself feel the feeling of like, I can do this. And I don't feel that way these days. And it's because I'm focusing so much. I'm exporting my motivation to like what other people tell me is possible. And that's trash, isn't it?
What other people tell you is possible, when really, like, all we've been learning is that everything is possible.
And we create our own realities, dude.
And like, manifesting is just like raising your vibration to the thing that you want to meet it.
If you want something moment. And you are also telling yourself that you cannot have it because you don't deserve it or earn it, like, you won't get it. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yeah.
So what kind of jerk am I?
So let that shit go.
And I want to be clear too, like, there's a difference. This is an important distinction I made last night, that there is trauma, things that people have told you and like, things that you had to overcome when you were younger or not so young. And then there is programming, which feels like something else to me. I would love to have an expert on to talk about that. But I think we have talked to some guests about your programming. Like, these are the conditions. Like, your reality is shaped by the people around you. And for me, I've noticed that trauma is easier to identify because trauma has a very visceral emotional reaction. Like, it's your roadmap. You get a feeling. You're like, oh, that feels like shit. And you're like, oh, wait, let's lean into that a little bit and let's look in that discomfort and see what wisdom we can pull from it. Now, programming for me has been something a little different, where I'm like, I don't even question reality. It's just the way it is. I don't have a feeling about it at all. It's just like, what is possible? These are the rails. And my rails aren't serving me. Like, when I see other people in the world having the type of guardrails that I want, I'm like, why is their reality so much different from mine? And I'm like, oh my God, I'm working in this programming that I've been given or was born with. And like, that is not helpful. So really, I think, again, I'm just digesting out loud, and I'm sorry because I've taken over.
No, it's fine. This is me and your spirit guides. Gave you a lot to work on last night.
Your programming, I have not identified how to easily like isolate non-helpful programming. And I guess that's what Lauren's for. We all need help, right? We all need help. There she is. Look at her. Smug.
Look at me.
Smug son of a...
No, you know what? There's something a little, I don't want to say it's rewarding. It's just that, like, Frank is always everybody's kind of therapist or like thought partner on things that, like, he can just see the big picture. He can look at stuff and go like, well, this, and this. He and I have worked out a lot of stuff. He has helped me work on a lot of beliefs and things about myself and for me. When I get to do it for him and I like nail something, it's like, oh yes, like I'm so happy because this is a breakthrough that you needed.
Yep.
It's fun to see him speechless.
Everybody, if you're single, find a partner who wants to shank you with her words.
You have to heal a certain belief in order to like call in the things that you want. So.
I also want to point out something specific, like because you and I are always talking to each other, I think we have a very similar viewpoint of the world. So I don't know how much of a bubble you and I are in, and I'm sure other people's issues are different.
Of course. Yeah. But everybody has different experiences.
As a way to wrap up, like what you and I have been dealing with, and maybe the context is we are creatives. We always wanted to like make stuff. We've had trouble making stuff and making money at the same time.
We're manifesting generators. So we have a lot of different interests. We jump around with projects.
Yeah. So
that's a big part of it too.
And then like as a creator, and we've talked to like our other creator friends about this too. Sometimes it feels superficial to require affirmation, but of your art, right? But at the same time, you want feedback. So much of art is feedback. It's not art if someone doesn't have an emotion about it and you want to know about that emotion. Did we elicit feedback? But
yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But that can become toxic too if you internalize that, like we were just talking about with you. Mm-hmm. Your ego requires permission from somebody else is what we were talking about.
Right. Yeah.
Like, but not your art. You as a person.
Yeah.
You as a person do not need feedback. I do not need feedback from people who I'm not asking for feedback from, right? Because you have to guard who's in your circle, of course.
Yeah.
But we don't need feedback from people who we don't need feedback from.
Yes.
And
I don't need, I'm 42, almost 43 years old. I don't need someone I don't need to say, am I doing things okay? Like I'm not 6 anymore.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. But even if you're not 42, like if you're 22, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Like you surround yourself with people who give you the feedback that is useful to you. But we have spent a lot of time maybe avoiding authenticity, avoiding our true calling, because in my case, I've let the guardrails, my programming, steer me astray from my like true sense of self. And you like emotionally are concerned about what people might say about you if you were to follow through with exactly what and who you want to be.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's bullshit.
Oh, it's so boring.
It's so boring. It's so boring.
It's crazy too, because like I did improv, which is like, I don't know, kind of the most like in some ways like embarrassing stuff that you could do, because you're literally just acting like a 5-year-old again. You're like, oh, I'm going to open this door. Like, I'm going to like pour coffee and like, or like, I'm going to act like a cat or whatever it is. And even then, like I judged myself. It was like, if I was too aware of what other people thought, I wasn't authentically like playing. And I think that is like, even if you didn't do improv, you can understand the idea of just play and just be who you authentically want to be. And without the awareness of other people's judgments, criticisms, beliefs, because like ultimately, like, does it really affect you? Only if you let it.
And then once you find that authenticity, and you have to be okay with if it repels people.
Right. Yeah.
Because it's going to repel the people that it's supposed to repel.
Yeah.
Unless you want to be a fish out of water, and you don't want to be a fish out of water.
Or just a pure people pleaser, because then you're actually not doing anything except serving what you think everybody else needs. This has been quite a year, guys.
Holy cannoli.
Hold on. I had notes. Thank you for letting us just process what we have discussed in the last 12 hours.
This is a journey. You're on the journey with us. You're watching us unpack our trash. And we really hope it means something to you. Good God, because if it doesn't, this is just kind of embarrassing, isn't it? Look at me.
This is self-deprecating.
I did it again.
Yeah, this is you not feeling like you worthy of taking up space. Frank doesn't like to take up space, and this is a new realization as well. So it's okay to have feelings and to talk about them, because most emotions or experiences are relatable in some way.
I'm still working that out.
And that's okay.
Sure.
Frank,
Yes.
That's okay.
All right.
Okay. Part of like, what is this experiment of this podcast was I'm going to learn Reiki. And it's really crazy what Reiki has done within our family. So I attuned Frank. He's got hot biscuit hands that Emily Bolsick does not like when we say. She's a friend of the show.
Emily, I've got the hottest biscuits.
No, steamy biscuits.
Steamy biscuits.
Yeah.
And also that's helped me unlock a couple of things too, because I've started getting my first like real what feels like intuitive moments by performing Reiki.
Yeah. The two things are really connected. Once you start slowing down and truly paying attention to your intuition, you start noticing what comes in.
A lot of the lessons we've learned tie into each other. You know, when you're performing Reiki, there's an element of it where you're just super tuned into sensations and feelings. And that's also like very related to the whole concept of sitting in the power that we learned from Michael Mayo and Megan Elisa, of like, you're allowing yourself to be in it, to exist and observe outside of yourself
and notice subtle shifts, like Dana Willie says.
Yeah. I think that's like a huge lesson in all of this, is that there are a lot of subtle shifts that happen all the time, and that it's easy to be distracted by a lot of the nonsense that's going on around you. There's stuff going on all the time. I'm so annoyed of my phone just making constant notifications.
Yeah.
And this is directly to Timu. Listen, Timu, I bought something from you one time and I regret it. And I don't need 200 notifications over the course of a week. I'm not joking about 200.
You get that many notifications?
You saw I had 200. That's fine.
From Timu?
Every time something takes you out of your ability to, I was talking about like, I've lost my ability to dream, or I'm regaining it again. Anytime something takes you out of the ability to be in that state of just existence and like thinking about what you want and believing that you can achieve it. And every little ring or ding on your phone or anything that happens around you, like it can be detrimental.
Yeah.
It can be absolutely detrimental.
Yes.
So
it's just distracting. It's distracting us from our own minds, the own like inner work.
Yeah.
Our own creativity,
and just like I said, like those
ability to dream,
ability to sense those extremely subtle shifts.
Yeah.
All of this, all of like intuitive growth, intuitive development, it's all about subtle shifts. And some people are so tapped into those subtle shifts that they're not so subtle anymore. And I think you really have to, even meditating and all this stuff. I think this is my big thesis right now. Meditating and everything, all you're trying to do is tune into those subtle shifts. At least this is my understanding of it now. It may develop over time. Tune into those subtle shifts until it's not so subtle anymore and you're more easily able to recognize it. If you don't give yourself the time and the space to do that, you're toast. Sayonara.
You're just dead in the water.
You ain't going nowhere. But that's a lot of the stuff.
It's really just that like you make less progress if you're not paying attention.
Or you make no progress.
Yeah.
Look, we were talking about like using the body and your emotions and your feelings as a map. For someone who's not so in tune with like their own emotions and stuff, you immediately feel the feeling that whatever you're feeling, a negative emotion based on something that might have just happened, and you disregard it instantly. You're like, oh, this is not progressive to how I want to carry out the rest of my day. So let me just throw it away. Or like maybe I'll think about that later, and you don't, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like that is technically a not so subtle shift, but you've made it subtle because you've allowed yourself to like carry on with this life that you're trying to build in the way that you think it should be built. So when you start tuning into those like feelings more, like now, like that shit's not subtle to me. I'm like, oh, I just felt a weird feeling. I probably need to address that. And let me look at the time. I should probably do it right now, said the unemployed guy. But still, like I will at my earliest convenience, I'm going to sit in that feeling and explore it and sort it out and see. Because if you don't do that, you're building a life upon trauma.
Yeah.
And that's just trauma.
Just burying it and denying it. Just like denying your own experiences.
So now extrapolate that to like other sensations that might be occurring outside of your body. That once the inner sensations start becoming less subtle to you, you can start focusing on what's happening around you in ways that have been subtle. And I think I have a theory, a theory that's 50 episodes in here that
49,
that the subtlety becomes less subtle. So that's my whole point. And then suddenly you realize that you have unexplainable abilities to sense things that are not happening in you, but happening around you. I think this is the goal, guys. I think this is the trick.
Yeah.
I think this is the trick, but it takes a minute and it takes some time. And it's taken me a year so far to even come up with that theory.
Well, that's, I mean, when I do intuitive exercises in my mentorship program, I really have to like slow down and pay attention to what feelings are mine and what's not. So, like you open up your auric field, we blend our auric fields. So I'm using my body to tap into Frank's body to feel like, okay, what am I sensing from his head to his toes? Like, that's different. Is this mine or is this Frank's? Like, I'm suddenly feeling, I'm not doing it right now, but like, I've done this with people and I'm like, well, I didn't have a stomach ache before, or I didn't have.
Hey, man.
Or like, I didn't have knee pain or a fluttering in my chest where I feel like really nervous or anxious or something. So that's part of it, is just really paying attention. What is mine and what is not mine, and separating that. And that's using your intuition.
Yeah. And the other thing that we learned that was really interesting regarding that is sometimes you're not the source of your own issues. There are external forces out there. We haven't gotten into it a lot, but if you listen to part 2 of Michelle Hollingbrook's episode, she was telling me that I have an external spiritual force pushing on me that, like, on occasion comes through to me as back pain. and that I can address it. So sometimes if you're navigating your feelings and you just don't know how to address it, it might not be you. And you can simply tell it kindly to whatever is the source of that to go suck eggs. And kindly suck eggs.
With all due respect.
Suck eggs. Please beat it. And like that can sometimes be enough too.
Yeah.
And that's the real concept of like generational trauma and stuff that's been that other people have expectations of you.
Also, really quick, just while on that episode, our friend Emily said that something that was really helpful for her was that Michelle talked about you can't hear people's pain or trauma for them. And Michelle was talking about like physically and literally doing that for other people. But I think there's something relatable to you can't process anybody else's trauma for them. You can't heal someone else. They have to do the work themselves.
Right.
So like my conversation with Frank's spirit guides last night, like I can tell him all the things he needs to know, but I can't do it for him. You know what I mean?
She can't do it for me.
You gotta figure this out. Like,
but then again,
this is your job. Like you gotta do this, or otherwise, like you're gonna mess up our podcast.
What? Mess up the podcast? It is interesting.
But I can't do it for you.
Yeah.
You know?
And very literally, Michelle is somebody who can like dig through people's like energetic fields and like inherit their. Yeah,
I've never I'll never be over her story. I'll never be over her.
She can inherit their like issues and heal it like literally, and then give them back healing. But then it comes at a cost.
Yeah,
it hurts her, and so no one. And just like even if you're not like a deep like energetic intuitive like that, where you can't do that. Everyone knows what it feels like to take on someone else's feelings and try to fix somebody. Don't do it.
Yeah.
Show them the way as much as you can, but at some point have a good border. Build a wall.
Nope.
Absolutely
not.
Not even a little.
Okay. I want to wrap this up now.
Okay. I guess Lauren's done.
Wrap it up. All right, we're done.
Frank, shut up.
No, I don't want this to go on forever. I'm just like, we're trauma
special.
Okay, I want to close this with a question.
Do I know what it is?
If you could tell yourself something at the beginning of this podcast, what would it be?
Don't take giant bites of yogurt before you hit record on a podcast.
I know what I would tell myself.
Go.
I would say, Lauren, sweet angel, you angel sent down from, just kidding. I would say you're about to embark on a really big emotional trauma healing journey, and it's all okay, and you're going to be so much better for it, but buckle up, baby. That's what I would say. And my former self would say, what are you talking about? Now I'm scared.
Yeah.
And then I would say, you should be.
Why are you bullying?
And then I'd be like, what's going on?
You're quantum bullying
and I'd be
yourself.
Like, just shut up and heal. I'm like a serious bully.
I think one of the big things for me would have been like, I would tell myself, you're not going to be able to think your way through this or think your way out of it. You're going to have to turn off those, how you survived up to this point.
Yeah.
And that you're going to have to reestablish a new concept, not your former religious trauma version of it, but a new definition of like faith, and faith that everything is going to work out.
Yeah.
Something I'm still working on.
Yeah.
I'm still working on that, but I'm slowly, it just popped in my head. Again, one of our first episodes, Sarah Reeves was talking about how going into this stuff, you have to have a belief system.
Mm.
And my belief system before any of this, before Gwen's thing, before anything, I was very agnostic. I was like, you can't know things, you shouldn't know things, and you should just try your best and work and like struggle. It's going to be what it is. And now it's like, oh, well, you know what? Like, we do have some access to this stuff. Gwen's thing happened. We have some access to this stuff. And like, we can get a better sense of like what our lessons are supposed to be on a bigger level, on a cosmic level. And that requires some faith that like this was all planned to a certain extent. Mm-hmm. And like not in a planned for you, not like an authoritarian, like big man in the sky kind of way, but in a you did the planning, bro.
Yeah.
And like that's a crazy concept to me still. And you can still blow it if you want to, if that's your choice, you know. Right. If you want to, you can go skydiving without a parachute and you will die. No one's going to come and save you. But, you know, maybe think about it. So the concept of like a reevaluating and a redeveloping concept of faith and a redeveloping a concept of any kind of belief system, and not a non-traditional belief system to be sure, but a belief system nonetheless. And that's a big thing for me. And not past Frank, not one that you develop on your own, but one that you are just open-minded and you are going to receive, right? Mm-hmm. Stop thinking. It's not going to work for you.
Zoom in on that.
Stop. So I think that's a big deal. Also, everyone is going to know that you wear the same hat and black shirts every day. Also, yeah, we're twins today. It's fine.
I feel like Frank infected me with the black attire.
It goes with everything.
Yes.
I'm not a fashion boy. I'm a t-shirt. And on occasion, I keep telling Lauren, on occasion I'll toss on the classic, the tropical Bashar button down. If anyone knows what I'm talking about, look up Bashar.
I love that Frank thinks Bashar is wearing those tropical shirts.
I love
His name is Daryl.
Well, no, and that's the man, but I'm talking about Bashar. I'm pretty sure
Bashar is choosing the Hawaiian shirt.
I think Bashar wakes up in the morning and he makes Daryl go to the closet and says, this one has pineapples.
That one is as tropical as it gets.
Anyway.
Okay. This was going to be like a 15-minute check-in. I don't know what I was thinking.
Whoops.
Like, that's not realistic. Thank you for, again, we say it a lot, but thank you for being on this amazing ride. It's great. It's been great.
We got a lot of stuff coming.
Yeah.
We're nowhere near done. We've got a lot of projects coming up. We're serious about that documentary. We are talking with a producer right now about like how best to move forward.
Just coaching us.
Yeah. And it's going to be good.
Yeah.
It's going to be good.
Yeah. We're excited. But yeah, if you have like, I don't know, reach out. We love every time someone emails or sends a message or gives a review, all those things they're like nectar. So thank you. And if you have suggestions,
nectar,
I don't know, nectar,
sure.
The fruit of, I don't know.
Oof. Dudes, we know what our monthly download count is. We know that you haven't sent us your personal journeys and stories. So we've got a couple, and thank you so much to those.
Why did you say our monthly download
Because
is?
I know how many people are listening, and I know how many people have a story that they haven't shared with us.
Oh.
I'm calling you out, dudes. I'm calling you out. I want to hear it.
Yeah.
And even if you just want to tell it, okay, something important, real quick, everybody. And I've taken advantage of this podcast in a way, because when I am sharing this information to you, it's helping me process it, right? Help yourself process your own information by solidifying it into a story that you share with us. And if you don't want us to air it in any way, that's fine, but we're here to read it. Make it real by sending it to us.
Yeah.
And you could say at the end, if you at the end you're like, please don't mention this at all. That's totally fine. But make this real for you.
Yeah.
Your journey is sometimes unrealized until you look back, the hindsight situation. You can say to yourself, holy shit, like this has been, it all seems like a series of coincidences, my life. But in retrospect, this is a direct line to where I'm going and where I'm heading.
Yeah.
Share that with us. That's
People
what we're looking for.
Who have like, if you have like followed your intuition into like, I knew that I wasn't in the right thing, and I listened to my intuition, which guided me to this next thing, or like whatever. I love stories of following your intuition. I love stories of serendipity or synchronicities, things that are like, there's no way that was not a coincidence. I love those stories. If it's like a cool sign, if it's a cool dream, visitation, please send them. Send them to us. We want to know. We're here for you. We want to hear from you. We appreciate you. Episode 49.
Yeah.
That's not the episode. 1 year of clairvoyaging.
Hip, hip, hooray! God.
Okay, ready? We say hearts and stars.
Hearts and stars! Is that cringe?
No.
Feels it.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you for listening. Visit www.clairvoyaging.com for show notes, merch, or just to say hi. If you'd like to support our journey, visit www.buymeacoffee.com/clairvoyaging. This has been a production of Wayfeather Media.